What's next for Harvey Weinstein now that he has been arrested?
Wendy Patrick joining us now with today's Inside the Law. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, a lot of folks, I think, leading up to Friday were wondering, okay, well, is Harvey Weinstein going to jail or is this just kind of what's happening? On Friday, explain what went down, really.
Okay, so on Friday, there actually were formal charges, and that's something that's been a long-awaited development. Remember, Harvey Weinstein was the original perpetrator that began the hashtag #MeToo movement back in last October. So it's been a long time coming, but also remember that although it's true, over 80 women had stepped up to accuse him, those allegations, most of them were outside the statute of limitations in a variety of places. So what they've done is New York prosecutors actually found 2 women, so there's separate incidents, 3 charges. That's what he was arraigned on last Friday. But also remember that there are reports that grand juries, both state and federal, continue to investigate potential additional charges into Mr. Weinstein. So those may be forthcoming. There may be more to come in terms of this case as well as others, both in London and also in California.
Right, because these accusations are really coming from all over the world. I feel like we've been talking about this for months. Is this part of why it took so long for this arrest to happen?
That's one of the reasons, Charlene Roll, and this is kind of like a Cosby-esque type of case in which patterns make the predator. So while it's true there are only 2 women that are the subject of the New York case, what investigators are doing is they're talking to women from all over the country to see if maybe there might be some, even though their cases can't be prosecuted because they're too old, their testimony may be able to be used in the case of New York.
So what happens now moving forward the next few weeks? Is he going to face the accusers on the stand? Will he look these women in the eye? And will they look him in the eye?
Eventually, if it gets to that point. The next date is set for July 30th. At that time, he's going to learn whether or not the grand jury found additional charges to bring against him. If so, he will be able to enter an additional guilt or not guilt plea against that. All practical purposes, he'll plead not guilty, and then move forward and decide whether or not he wants to negotiate some kind of a plea deal, or whether he wants to, as his lawyer said on the courthouse steps on Friday, take this all the way.
Okay, he was released on $1 million bail, and we saw his attorney turn over his passport. They agreed that he was going to wear a GPS monitoring device. Is this pretty standard for a case like this?
Well, this actually was negotiated between Weinstein's lawyer and the New York DA's office. And I know people are complaining, hey, he was the toast of Tinseltown. Sure, he went from powerhouse to pariah over the course of a weekend, but he's being treated differently. This was a negotiated plea, a negotiated arrangement. So it's $10 million bail. He, I guess, had a cashier's check for $1 million. Most people can't do that. That's right. But it was something that was agreed upon beforehand. So it's not a matter of being treated differently. This actually was something that was set up by his lawyer in the DA's office.
You know what fascinates me with this case? You mentioned 80 women, but only the current ones at the statute of limitation. Do lawmakers and people start looking at the statute of limitations in something like this? Now that the Me Too movement has taken off, there are more women getting the courage now to step forward. Do they look at statute of limitations for cases like this and say, you know, we need to change the laws here?
They do, and they have. Litigation leads to legislation, and that's what we've seen happen on both coasts as a result of the hashtag Me Too movement. And it's one of these things that's been slowly evolving over the course of the years, and we've seen some very significant developments since this happened, but it's not retroactive. So many of those women that, even though they would, if it happened today, be able to be swept up under the elimination of those statutes, it doesn't help them because their cases are too old.
Do you think, Wendy, this is going to be another Bill Cosby sort of trial?
Absolutely, if the prosecutors have their way, because that's one of the reasons investigation continues. They want to see if they can seek additional corroboration. Because let's face it, sex crimes happen behind closed doors. They don't leave the kinds of witnesses that so many other crimes leave. So yes, that will be the goal of the prosecution. It'll ultimately be up to whatever judge gets assigned this case. We'll continue to follow it.
We will see what happens indeed. Wendy Patrick, Inside the Law. Thank you once again.
Thank you.